Tonight, politics and hockey collide. Wednesday night's federal election debate runs into a crucial Montreal Canadiens game.
People say that in Quebec, hockey, les Canadiens, are a religion.
The French language debate will now start 2 hours earlier. On anxieties about U.S. tariffs and Canadian sovereignty, CBC News goes to the Trump White House.
He stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly.
The president still maintains his position on Canada.
In Canada's north, the federal election raises Arctic security concerns.
The Americans themselves being a concern?
No.
No, not really, right? Still, Russians are still the bad guys.
Yeah. Russia or China, yeah.
Or China, yeah.
We're in Yellowknife as the campaign drama heats up.
From CBC News, this is The National with Juanita Taylor in Yellowknife.
Thanks for joining us here in the Northwest Territories as the National hits the road for this federal election campaign. Adrian is on assignment. Well, this could be a key week for the parties. 2 major debates are on the schedule, and tonight there's a last-minute change to one. After weeks of this race being dominated by U.S. trade and Donald Trump, a very Canadian issue is forcing this pivot: hockey. The French debate time has been moved up to avoid clashing with the Montreal Canadiens game. David Cochrane, host of Power and Politics, is here with me now. So, David, let's start with the change itself. What prompted this?
Well, you know, Juanita, Canada's election collided with Canada's game, and hockey won. You know, Quebec prides itself on its secular nature, but if there is a provincial religion, it's the Habs. So with a possible do-or-die playoff clinching game set to start at 7 Eastern, there was no way that a debate starting at 8 Eastern was going to reach the audience you would want in an election as important as this one. So the Bloc Québécois and the NDP, they asked for the change today, and they got their way. It's moved up 2 hours to 6 Eastern, an unusual move, but not unprecedented. Back in 2011, the Bloc Québécois leader Gilles Duceppe successfully pushed for a change to avoid that debate going head-to-head with the Canadiens-Bruins playoff game. So even in an election with the stakes of this one, it's hockey that rules.
That it does. So this is partly about hockey, but also about politics. And there are political reasons some were pushing for this.
Yeah, Wednesday might also be do or die for the Bloc Québécois. I mean, Yves-François Blanchet's party, it's getting squeezed out in Quebec, much like the NDP is getting squeezed in English Canada. And this debate is perhaps Blanchet's last best chance to win back BQ voters, who the polls suggest are abandoning the Bloc for the Liberals. And to do that, he needs as many eyeballs as possible. Take a listen.
And the idea is for as many people as possible to be able to watch the debate and for us to discuss and to make them have as much information as possible to make their decision on April 28.
So the time change, good for the Bloc Québécois, but this is probably bad for French-speaking Canadians not in the Eastern time zone. If you're in BC, this debate is on in the middle of the afternoon to accommodate a hockey game in Montreal.
All right, thank you, David. That's David Cochrane in Ottawa.
Thank you.
You can watch tomorrow night's French language debate at 6 p.m. Eastern on CBC News Network or wherever you stream CBC News. On Thursday, the English language debate will be on CBC television at 7 Eastern. And on both nights, Adrian will be hosting the National live from Montreal with post-debate coverage. Before hockey, it was Honda creating a stir on the campaign trail after a report said the company was considering moving jobs out of Canada. But as Kate McKenna explains, that doesn't appear to be the case. Just the threat of these Honda assembly lines grinding to a halt prompted a wave of tough talk and promises from Canadian politicians.
We will fight, we will protect, and we will build.
It all started when a Japanese news outlet reported Honda was considering moving Canadian jobs to the United States in response to Donald Trump's auto tariffs. After talking to the company, Ontario's premier shot that down quickly.
Well, we're going to keep Honda here, and I'll do everything I can to protect the people and their jobs.
Honda Canada issued a statement to, as it said, clarify and correct the report, saying its Ontario plant will operate at full capacity for the foreseeable future, and no changes are being considered at this time.
I don't want to discount anxiety over it. The reality is that company is never pulled back in Canada from crisis.
Ottawa also announced more incentives to fight the effects of Trump's tariffs. Automakers will be partially exempt from counter tariffs on U.S. assembled cars so long as they keep operating in Canada. And other manufacturers will get a 6-month pause on paying some counter tariffs on items like food packaging to allow time to rejig supply chains.
There is no going back. We, in Canada, we will have to build a new relationship with the United States.
Federal party leaders, including Mark Carney, all positioned themselves as best suited to defend Canadian jobs.
We need to really fight back and get these tariffs removed, make sure that we can strengthen our automobile sector.
What we should do is focus on what we can control, and that is to reverse the disastrous Liberal economic policies that Mr. Carney advised Trudeau to take.
These on-again, off-again threats add to uncertainty across the country and could end up being the ballot question in this federal election. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Montreal.
The White House is reaffirming Donald Trump's position on Canada, saying he still thinks this country should be the 51st state. But as Katie Simpson shows, there are also new signs he could scale back his tariffs on Canada's auto sector.
U.S. President Donald Trump has gone weeks now without mentioning his desire to have Canada become the 51st state. So we asked the White House press secretary,
Which outlet are you with?
The Canadian Public Broadcaster.
Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you.
whether Trump has changed his mind.
Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the president's position on Canada has shifted. The president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America.
Amid annexation concerns, Trump's trade war continues to sow uncertainty for Canadian businesses, and in particular, the auto sector. While there are some carve-outs for CUSMA-compliant components, the U.S. has 25% tariffs on foreign-made autos, with new tariffs on foreign-made auto parts set to kick in by May 3rd.
Yesterday, in the Oval Office, President Trump suggested that there could be some help for automakers. I'm wondering what that looks like.
So I don't have anything to read out for you there, but I think the point the president was making is flexibility, and he has flexibility when it comes to negotiations and talks.
As for Trump's negotiations and talks with America's trading partners and rivals, tensions are mounting. Chinese President Xi Jinping arriving in Malaysia, the second stop on his reassurance tour, as he tries to present Beijing as a reliable trading partner. In the face of external uncertainties, China will insist on joining hands rather than throwing punches, this Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman says. If those tensions are going to ease, the White House is looking to Beijing to make a move.
The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them.
China has a challenge in presenting itself as a reliable partner, given its history of trading practices, drawing intense criticism from the West. But it is still trying to make the case in this moment when U.S. policy is evolving unpredictably.
And Katie, we're expecting to learn more this week about additional tariffs.
Yeah, the Trump administration is expected to announce details about new tariffs on semiconductors and electronics. After that, it will likely be pharmaceuticals and then possibly critical minerals as well. The White House has taken the first step on the path toward tariffs for that sector.
All right, thank you, Katie. That's our Katie Simpson in Washington. Donald Trump and this trade war were front and center today as Ontario kicked off a new legislative session with a throne speech.
The strength of Ontario's economy and the social programs it funds can no longer depend on a partner that has proven itself to be fundamentally unreliable.
Doug Ford's Progressive Conservative Party won a third consecutive majority after campaigning on fighting back against Trump and his tariffs. With the spring session now underway, loosening interprovincial trade barriers is expected to be high on the to-do list. Well, new inflation numbers show the rise in Canadian prices is slowing, except at the grocery store. Kyle Bax shows how cross-border tariffs are already hitting Canadians' wallets.
From breakfast cereals to condiments, food prices keep climbing, especially fruit and veggies, leaving shoppers paying more.
I have a minor increase, and in part that's because I choose to buy Canadian whenever possible.
We try to stretch the amount that we buy for a lot longer.
If I have to adapt on the fruit and veggies I eat, I'll have to adapt.
Counter tariffs introduced in early March are beginning to impact food prices for certain products, like orange juice.
I just checked out the price of it and it looked like it doubled. So I just decided I'll refill my waters, leave the orange juice behind.
The made in U.S. varieties are noticeably more money, almost twice the price compared to those prepared in Canada, even if they still use fruit from Florida.
That's the reality. If you don't pass on those increases, you're not going to be an independent grocer, you're going to be an out-of-business grocer. So we are seeing the increases.
Food was up 3.2% in March compared to 12 months ago. But in general, inflation actually cooled to 2.3%, according to figures from Statistics Canada. Some prices actually dropped, like gasoline, down 1.6%. Cheaper pump prices helped keep inflation in check. Airfares and travel packages were also lower. Call it a March break, as the overall inflation rate was lower than experts were predicting.
And there were a few pleasant surprises, including lower price of energy and lower price of gasoline, of course, because of recession risks that are rising around the world.
The latest numbers come on the eve of decision day for the Bank of Canada on interest rates. Slower inflation could convince the central bank to maintain rates, but the ever-shifting trade war may lead the bank to cut to help stimulate the economy. Kyle Bax, CBC News, Calgary.
New numbers show home prices are down in Canada, and so is demand. Overall, sales in March decreased by 9.3% compared to the same period last year. That's the lowest volume on record since March of 2009. And the decrease in sales is contributing to lower prices, with the average cost of a home across the country falling by 3.7% year over year. Well, federal party leaders campaigned in Quebec ahead of tomorrow's French language debate. Mark Carney talked about help for mid-career workers in specific sectors to upgrade their skills.
In order to support retention and upskilling within their companies, people grow within their companies. The benefit will provide up to $15,000 per Canadian for training.
Canadians in manufacturing, healthcare, construction, technology, and AI would be eligible. Well, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre announced his plan to better protect seniors from digital scammers.
Our seniors deserve to feel safe and secure when they pick up their phones, iPads, or computers. So if you are a bank or telco, we want you to do everything you can to protect our beloved seniors who built this country.
The plan would require banks and phone companies to use real-time scam detection and block suspicious activity for seniors, or face the prospect of fines up to $5 million. The NDP's Jagmeet Singh criticized his rivals for their plans to scrap the capital gains tax increase. At his Montreal stop, the party leader voiced his support for taxing the wealthiest Canadians on gains to reinvest in social infrastructure like healthcare, schools, housing, and a grocery price cap. A popular talking point for the Conservatives leading up to this month's election has been Carney's work at Brookfield, an investment firm. But as Ashley Burke shows us tonight, a number of those Conservative MPs were Brookfield shareholders themselves.
Mark Carney, like all Liberals, is a high-tax hypocrite.
It's been a repeated attack line of this election.
Mr. Carney is not a businessman. He is a political grifter.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has targeted Liberal leader Mark Carney over his time as chair at Brookfield Asset Management, a multi-billion-dollar investment firm.
How would Mark Carney ever be trusted to make our tax system fair when he's invested in a company that has billions of dollars of cash stashed away in an overseas tax haven?
After a Radio Canada report that Carney used to oversee two funds based in tax havens like Bermuda, Carney said it was a question of efficiency, not tax avoidance.
The flow through of the funds go to
go to Canadian entities who then pay the taxes appropriately, as opposed to taxes being paid multiple times.
Public records show that while the Conservatives were attacking Carney, half a dozen of their MPs disclosed last year they held investments with Brookfield Corporation or its related companies, including Deputy Leader Melissa Lantsman. She's accused Carney of dodging Canadian taxes while running Brookfield, but also reported an undisclosed amount of shares in Brookfield Renewable, which is based in Bermuda. Poilievre also has shares of an ETF that has investments in dozens of companies, including Brookfield.
They can't really have genuine issues with how this organization practices business, because if they did, they wouldn't invest in it. And so, yeah, it's a bit of an egg on their face moment for the Conservatives.
In a statement, the Conservatives say Poilievre doesn't control the specifics of the funds in his ETFs and that their MPs fully disclose their financial assets. This while still accusing Carney of refusing to disclose what they call his conflicts of interest. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Alberta has unveiled new legislation that would allow forced treatment on people dealing with addiction if they're deemed a threat to themselves or to others. Aaron Collins now with how the law would work and why it's controversial.
Susan Boone's daughter died of an overdose before her 30th birthday.
Ashley will be forever 29. We miss her every single day. We love her endlessly.
Alberta's new involuntary treatment system, too late to save her.
No matter what we tried, we couldn't force her to choose recovery. And that realization shattered us.
That kind of loss behind the Alberta government's Compassionate Care Act.
Right now, all of Canada is in the grip of this crisis, and we must do all we can to help Albertans who struggle with addiction.
The new system would allow loved ones, healthcare professionals, or the police to apply to have an Albertan struggling with addictions to be forced into treatment. If the application is approved, police can apprehend the person for a 72-hour assessment period. A panel consisting of a lawyer, a doctor, and a member of the public then decides if they can be forced into treatment for up to 90 days. Alberta's involuntary care plan is set to begin next year. BC already allows forced treatment for addiction. Involuntary care laws exist in nearly 40 U.S. states, too. But experts are still unsure if it actually works.
So the outcomes are quite varied. What we have seen, however, is that some of the more robust models, such as the Massachusetts model, have led to more overdoses and poor outcomes.
Well, that's what happened to Angela Wells' daughter. The teenager died just weeks after being released from involuntary care.
I don't know if this was what killed her. Certainly the toxic drug supply had something to do with it, but the fact that we involuntarily took her into that facility just basically destroyed her trust with her family.
Despite those worries, Alberta's premier believes involuntary care is worth the risk.
You won't know if something works until you try it.
One thing that is certain, the need to stem the tide of overdose deaths in Canada. 50,000 Canadians have died using opioids in just the last decade. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
Toronto police say an individual may have been targeted in a hit and run that left 4 people injured. It happened on Toronto Metropolitan University's campus in the city's downtown core. The victims were struck on a pedestrian walkway. They were taken to hospital, one in serious condition. The governor of California is trying to entice Canadian tourists as new data shows another drop in cross-border travel.
Sure, you know who's trying to stir things up back in D.C., but don't let that ruin your beach plans.
The growing impact as Canadians turn away from U.S. travel. Plus, the new study warning about chemicals in children's mattresses.
Manufacturers must be more vigilant.
The advice for parents and caregivers. And the epic dog sled race now underway in Canada's far north. We're back in 2. This is Aksangnit, or Northern Lights in Inuktitut over Yellowknife. It's natural attractions like this making the Northwest Territories' capital city a destination for Canadians rediscovering their backyard. New travel data show fewer and fewer Canadians are heading south to the United States, whether by air or road. This March, close to 1 million fewer people crossed the U.S. border than last March. JP Tasker looks at the links to Trump tariffs and rhetoric.
Cross-border travel to the U.S. has cratered as many Canadians vote with their wallets and stay away as the country fights a trade war.
You know who's trying to stir things up back in D.C., but don't let that ruin your beach plans.
California Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to turn things around, launching a new ad campaign to draw some Canadians back to the Golden State.
Because here in California, we've got plenty of sunshine and a whole lot of love for our neighbors up north.
The latest U.S. border data reveal why officials are feeling anxious. Nearly 900,000 fewer people traveled from Canada to the U.S. in March compared to the same month last year. A 17% decline in what's historically a busy month for vacations.
This is not the way that we treat our neighbors, and we certainly don't treat friends like this. And it is hurting people, and it's causing harm.
The mayor of Palm Springs says his resort town depends on Canadian visitors, but President Donald Trump's tariffs and taunts are driving people away.
There is a big hole that will be felt if we don't get this straightened out for next season.
DeHart is blanketing the city's airport and main streets with these banners to make skittish Canadians feel welcome.
People aren't traveling, and it's the border communities and border community businesses like ours, I'm tearing, that are being impacted the most.
Sales have plummeted at dozens of family-owned duty-free shops that dot the Canadian side of the land border. The number of Americans coming north has also dropped off, creating a dire situation for store owners.
They're scared. This is a crisis. They need that travel over the border to be viable.
Cross-border travel hasn't been this low since the pandemic, and there are signs things could get worse. According to industry data, airline bookings to the U.S. this summer are down some 70%. JP Tasker, CBC News, Ottawa.
New research is warning about chemicals in some children's mattresses.
So now you're taking a chunk out of this flexible polyurethane foam.
We dissect the findings. And Adrian sits down with voters here in Yellowknife to find out what they need as they get ready to vote.
Our military, they're crucial up here because we are so impacted by climate change.
The National breaks down the stories shaping our world next. A heavy sandstorm in southern Iraq Monday caused reduced visibility and flight cancellations in several provinces. More than 1,000 people were also hospitalized with respiratory problems. Authorities say conditions are expected to improve by Tuesday. A new study raises concerns about some children's mattresses after Canadian researchers found harmful chemicals in some products sold in Canada. Alison Northcott explains the risks and what parents can do to lower the threat.
But the shiny new engine snorted.
As a father of two, Trevor Vanderdolen wants to protect his kids from harmful chemicals.
There's chemicals in all the products that we have in our home, but when it affects like a vulnerable population like kids, yeah, it does worry me.
A fine big chain.
A new study suggests young children may be exposed to chemicals from their mattresses at levels above the Canadian guidelines.
Now you're taking a chunk out of this flexible polyurethane foam.
Researchers at the University of Toronto took a close look at 16 children's mattresses like these, all purchased in Canada. They found one exceeded the Canadian limit for a chemical plasticizer used to make materials more flexible, and another used a fire retardant banned in Canada for products for children under 3 because it can be harmful to their health.
Manufacturers must be more vigilant. They are selling products that are intended to help kids. They need to make sure that their products are safe.
The risks are across many different aspects of healthy development, from the respiratory systems to their immune systems to their neurodevelopment.
This researcher says Canada should take the findings and these chemicals seriously.
We don't know enough about them in terms of what products can contain them and how much they're containing. That we should be expecting more in terms of those who are safeguarding our consumer products.
Can you hold your stuffies?
For parents like Vanderdolen, researchers say there are ways to minimize exposure and risk by decluttering the sleeping area, adding extra layers for protection on top of the mattress, and washing sheets and clothing frequently.
Health Canada says it's aware of the study and looking over the findings to identify any risks to human health or non-compliance with regulatory requirements. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Adrienne is on assignment tonight, but before that, she sat down with 4 voters here in Yellowknife to find out what conversations they're having as they prepare to vote.
Here in the north, there are strong views about the strength of Canada's Arctic security.
We have to stop taking the protection of our Arctic for granted.
The concerns are big and varied, from the prices they pay,
it's really insulting,
to climate change and wildfires.
We need a strong military.
Is the military's job to be firefighters, though?
No, of course not, but we have no one else.
4 voters, another good conversation.
There's no doubt that you have, seen the major party leaders come up here to talk about Arctic sovereignty and security. And is that something you think about? Like, how real are those threats for you?
I feel like what that's creating for us residents is it's creating this kind of fear campaign they're doing.
Like you weren't thinking about it before, but now you are, kind of thing?
Exactly.
Were you thinking about it, Nancy?
Since Trump came in and since he's so focused on mineral wealth in the north, I think we are under threat. I think that's very real. And I think we've been very complacent for the past many, many years because we had a strong southern neighbor that we could count on, and that's gone.
So, Lindsay, like you spent 16 years in the military, so you've been at the pointy end of this conversation.
I think people definitely have a legitimate concern. I mean, when you look at the numbers, the Americans have roughly 22,000 military stationed in the Arctic and Alaska. And Canada, we are lucky if we have maybe 300. We have to stop taking the protection of our Arctic for granted and thinking that the Americans will always be there for us. I definitely think that's a legitimate concern, yeah.
But the Americans themselves being a concern?
No.
No, not really, right? Still, the Russians are still the bad guys.
Yeah, Russia or China, yeah.
Or China, yeah, definitely. You know? Well, I don't really have any fear of the Americans coming up and invading.
No, neither do I, no.
The Northwest Passage is opening more and more every year. So you don't know who's coming through that thing.
You have been to almost all the political rallies that you can get your hands on, right?
Oh yeah. I always like to hear what the leaders have to say from themselves, yeah.
Are you hearing anything from any of the major party leaders on this subject, on the matter of threats and security that gives you some comfort?
Defense independence from the Americans is important, and they've all kind of mentioned that. But again, what the leaders say, maybe half of it actually gets done. They make a lot of promises they can't keep.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think too, spending more money on our defense is not only important for Canadian sovereignty, but I think it's also important for making Canada look like a strong nation again. In 2014, we promised our NATO allies that we would spend at least 2% of our GDP on defense, and to date, we haven't done that. I think we need a government that takes action on that, yeah.
But something else I just want to throw in here for discussion, that we are also seeing a changing role of our military. I don't know if you agree with that, Lindsay, but during our evacuations and our fires, that we've had 2 major ones in the last 10 years, I don't know what we would have done without our military. They were our firefighters, they helped us to get out of here, they took care of our land when we were away. So our military, they're crucial up here because we are so impacted by climate change, 4 times the global average. So, we need a strong military.
Is the military's job to be firefighters, though?
No, of course not. But we have no one else.
Yeah, so. Exactly. We don't have anyone else. That's part of the problem. That should be a last resort, not a Band-Aid.
We've mentioned wildfires and evacuations. I grew up in Norman Wells. This is a community impacted by climate change. Apart from wildfires. This is a community that relies on ice roads. Our ice road times, it's shrinking because of how warmer it's getting. To me, it threatens the existence of my hometowns. the threat of wildfires to me is existential, not only to lives, but to culture. I don't like thinking about what's going to happen if we leave climate change unchecked.
I hear you.
Yeah, so do you think that we have two existential threats? I mean, I think we do. I think we have Trump as one, and I think climate change as the other. And sadly, I think Trump is driving our overlooking climate change.
Absolutely.
And it has gone from a top issue to almost non-existent. And I think you'd agree too, being a Dene up here, that we have worked so hard to try and take care of our environment. And here we are talking pipelines.
Yes.
So
I think the environment's important, but I think even when you look at recent polls that were put out, climate change is like 6th or 7th on the list. I mean, when people can't afford to keep food in their stomach and put a roof over their head, the effects of the economy are really hurting the average hardworking Canadian. I think that the tariffs can provide an opportunity for Canada in that you look at what they've caused us to do as a nation. They've caused us to look more inward to see how we can become more sovereign. And I think that can really strengthen Canada if we bring home more manufacturing and we just, I guess that's why I like what I hear Pierre Poilievre saying. He sees that Canada needs to be more self-reliant and sovereign, and it took tariffs to get us talking about that.
I don't know if we have the people to produce, though. Like, you know, I think we need more people to help with that production if we're going to be self-reliant, you know, for production.
You're talking immigration?
Yeah, immigration, yeah. Bring in more immigrants. Absolutely. There's labor shortage everywhere. Everywhere you look, people are looking for workers, you know. We're going to produce and be self-reliant in this. We got to have the population to support it, and we're not there, you know.
I think that's true that we need more people here. We definitely do to make up for our labor shortages. But unfortunately,
Canada's a big place. You can spread out, right?
I'm talking about the north, and I think the problem that we're having with that, though, is there's nowhere for people to live.
You're going to talk about housing, right? Yeah, exactly.
Because it's all connected.
That's right. That's right. You need the people to build the houses to have the people that build it. Right?
I think part of our problem, though, is we need to get back to where the immigration is not outpacing the housing, the jobs. I mean, it's even not fair to the immigrants that are coming here, because they come here and what are they faced with? Homelessness, joblessness, healthcare issues. I think, yes, Canada is a very welcoming country. Please come here. But I think as a country, we have a right to determine how many, what is the right level, and there has to be a cap.
So it's this combination of a housing crisis on top of a cost of living crisis that, you know, when you look at immigration, it's hard to defend because to me, we are relying on immigrants to do our work. We're relying on immigrants to build for us. But, you know, what about Canadians? What about us at home? We are not offering quality incentives for Canadians to go out and build homes, for Canadians to go out and work in service industries, you know? We are not offering Canadians enough opportunity or even the chance to earn a living through these classic industries that we worked in. Here I have one job. I worked really hard to get this job at Dene Nation. I graduated post-secondary, and my monthly rent is probably 70% of my monthly income. I'm barely making enough myself after going through university, after getting a pretty good job. To me, that very fact, cost of living, housing, to me, I just don't find Canada has capabilities to be accepting in more and more immigrants.
What if they help build the houses, though?
Totally.
You know, like drywallers and painters, you know, you don't really even need a ticket for that. You know, like plumber, electrician, you know, the red seal trades, they can even write an equivalency exam for that. You know, what if we just vet a little bit more and brought in the people that can do some, you know, skilled labor?
I guess what I'm just trying to ask is, why aren't we funding Canadians, you know, people born and raised in our country to do that?
Because they would be doing it already,
Yeah.
right?
I agree. Yeah.
Like the trades haven't changed. Trades just keep making more and more money. You know, at least we got some young people now getting back into it because they finally started pushing it again. But, you know, when I was going through high school, the trades were like, ugh, stay away from that, you know, go to university. Yeah. You know, luckily I was, you know, one teacher took me aside. He said, Mike, you're not going to university. Go do this. Go be a plumber. Okay, so.
And it served you well, right?
Oh, you're damn right you did, yeah.
Coming up, why securing the Arctic is about much more than the military.
It's the people in the communities that are going to be standing up for our sovereignty. We have asked them to be our eyes and our ears, and they have nothing. They don't even have internet half the time.
We were in Nunavut, and I went to the store and bought a couple apples. I think for like 4 little apples. Tell me what you think about this price, $7.22 for 4 little apples.
I grew up in Nunavut for a portion of my life. Mm-hmm. It's really insulting. I want my people to have fresh fruit. I want my people to have fresh produce and products instead of relying on, you know, last minute shipments, the fruits that's been hiding in the back of the truck to be delivered.
That is one thing living in the north. You don't always get fresh produce. It's kind of hit and miss. But here in Yellowknife, for electricity, we have some of the most expensive electricity in Canada, maybe even in North America. I mean, here in Yellowknife, we're at about 41 cents a kilowatt hour. Wow. So when you get an electricity bill every month for $500 or $600, that takes a big chunk out of your budget. And you know, you have to look at ways to decrease that, maybe throw some more blankets on your bed or something, and it's yeah, you can definitely feel it.
And yet we lost power this morning.
Exactly.
We always lose power.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, but I think the other thing that we need to look at with this is that the population of the Northwest Territories is 46,000. That's all we have up here. Mm-hmm. And half the population lives in Yellowknife. And the other half is distributed, in small communities all around the territories. And the life you have in Yellowknife is completely different from what you have out there, where I can tell you there's almost third world conditions in some of the communities. So I think we need to take that into account when we're looking at the northern picture, because it's the people in the communities that are going to be standing up for our sovereignty. Mm-hmm. We have asked them to be our eyes and our ears. We've asked them if they see something, let us know. If there's a fire blowing into town, let us know. And when we talk about the military, we've asked the people in the communities to keep us in the know about what's going on out there. And they have nothing. They don't even have internet half the time.
We have 40% of Canada's landmass, but only about 1% of the population.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. To keep us sovereign.
That's what the Rangers are for, the Canadian Rangers.
Yes, true, yeah. And they're out there working with the Rangers, and it's wonderful. I love those guys.
Yeah, our Rangers are severely underfunded, though.
Old ass rifles driving on Bravos. Yeah, I know. I've seen it.
It looks cool, but I can't imagine it's that efficient.
Are you hearing anything that represents the whole package to you to say, I believe in this, this is where I'm going to vote? You don't have to tell me who you're voting for, but are you confident that you've heard what you need to hear?
To me, Mark Carney and the Liberal Party they're offering a bit more for Canadians. When I look at people, say the NDP or the Conservatives, they have a lot of fancy words, a lot of pretty words that I like to hear. You know, we're going to build the homes, we're going to stop the crime. But my second question when I hear that is, how are we going to do it? Mm-hmm. They're not answering that second part.
I feel like you're jumping out of your skin, Lindsay.
I have a bit of a different point of view. I think every time I listen to Mark Carney, all I hear is distraction. Either he's talking about what a threat Trump is, or how terrible Poilievre is because he didn't get a security clearance. I mean, are we going to do this for a fourth time with the same government? I want something different, and I want a change. And if Canada fails, at least we failed trying a change and not the same thing for the fourth time around. I mean, for this veteran, the Liberals are asking for more than I can give right now.
I do hope that Mark Carney is successful in his bid, because I do feel that he can pull the economic levers that he needs to pull to get along with Trump, and that is my big concern on that level.
I'm going to guess you're not sure.
Like, you know, you look at the leaders. Jagmeet Singh, I really like him as a person. You know, I really do. I like the Conservatives party platform. You know, I like what they're saying they're going to do. And as for like my representative in Parliament, you know, I like the Liberal. So usually if you get 2 out of 3 of those, you'll probably get my vote. Right now, you know, all three, they're all going different ways, you know? So I'm really all over the place in this.
Okay, that's fair. Can you look ahead and help explain to the rest of Canada what you think the North should look like, or what you want the North to look like in 20 years?
I'd like to see it become a larger logistics hub. I think, as you had mentioned earlier, with the increase in the usage of the Northwest Passage, there's going to be a need for that. Yeah.
What about you, Damien?
It's just stronger, thriving Indigenous cultures.
Yeah.
I want to see, you know, the Dene across the Decho thriving. I want to see them with their roads, schools, police stations, hospitals that are under their control. My perfect future is ensuring that Indigenous governments aren't just consulted, but they're the ones saying, yes, you can do that, or no, you can't do that.
One of the things that we're not talking about that I wonder if we do, because of the differences between Yellowknife and the communities, I wonder if we need 2 MPs up here. Like, we need someone to represent our communities and to be out there pounding on the desktops and saying, we need this. We need them to have housing where they don't have 2 and 3 generations living in one little house and sleeping on the floor, you know, and another MP to represent Yellowknife, because we have 2 completely different cultures.
Your sense of the future?
I'd like to see self-reliance. You know, I'd like to see a lot more independence. I think, you know, infrastructure is important. And I think propping up the communities. Like, you were just in Nunavut. They don't even have a dental office.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we should start somewhere small and just get a dentist up there instead of flying people down south at $1,200 for 3 days or whatever. Do the math.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, these are all good ideas. It's a good chat. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Damien, Lindsay, Nancy, Mike, appreciate it.
Thanks for coming up.
What a great conversation. And another big thanks to Damien, Lindsay, Nancy, and Mike for being so open with us. Well, Adrian is now on assignment in Montreal, where party leaders are about to face off in back-to-back debates. The first one, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, is the French language debate. Catch it live on CBC News Network or stream it. When that ends, the Nationals' in-depth coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern. The English debate is on Thursday night, starting at 7. Then join us at 9 for another special edition of The National from Montreal. Well, up next, an epic Qimuksak, or dog sled race in Inuktitut, kicks off in Nunavut.
This is the moment for Nunavut Miu to celebrate, to look at what the mushers have been doing to keep the traditions alive.
Excitement ahead of the week-long quest in our moment. Well, you're looking at a pair of Qimmeet, or sled dogs in Inuktitut, waiting to get on the starting line at the annual Nunavut Quest dog sled race. The event kicked off today and is expected to take a week to complete. And tonight, the annual Arctic tradition is our moment.
Today is day 1 of Nunavut Quest 2025. This is the moment for Nunavut Miu to celebrate, to look at what the mushers have been doing to keep the traditions alive over the last 25, 30 years of Nunavut Quest. The dogs are always excited to go, and you can really feel the energy and the excitement. Each of the officials have a helper to help with the tents and camp setup and takedown. The mushers leave in a different order, and that order is determined based on the order of arrival in the previous day. They'll have their day total and a running total for the final race. So I think that's what's keeping Nunavut Miu excited and on their toes throughout the next little bit as well, because you think you know, but there's often upsets. People are very kind, very welcoming, big smiles at the end of the day when people are coming in, And at the end of the race, the excitement is high, right? We're going to see a lot of people down on the ice celebrating and waiting for the mushers to go.
Amazing. Well, the distance between Pond Inlet and Igloolik is roughly 400 kilometers. And depending on weather conditions, it could be a treacherous journey. So we're wishing all the racers a lot of luck tonight. And get this, the winner takes home $20,000. Well, thank you for being with us tonight. Adrian will be back with you tomorrow night, live from Montreal, with special coverage after the French leaders' debate. I'm Juanita Taylor. Take care.